All right, how we doing today, everyone? Let's talk about the change in seasons. Well, it's fall is right around the corner. Summer or fall sports are starting soon. End of summer, August. That's when football starts. Other fall sports, I think soccer is a fall sport in a lot of school. Cross country. I don't even know what else. I know a lot of there's fall baseball. I'm not a big fan of fall baseball personally. I think you play baseball in the spring / summer, and then you can go on your way. But again, and a lot of times that's the thing with today's sports. Volleyball, girls volleyball is a big one. I know the girls I train, they're starting volleyball in the fall here or in August, so that summer kind of ramp up season, get ready for the fall sports when school starts again with the summer camp and whatnot. But again, that's one thing with sports nowadays is if maybe in the summer you had an off season, like the volleyball girls I trained, they had an off season. They weren't playing a sport. Maybe you're a multi-sport athlete, so you don't really have an off season. You have football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then baseball in the spring, and maybe baseball in the summer again, or you just take it off, which is always a good thing, because an off season can help. Playing multiple sports, I feel, is the best approach for youth athletes because they're getting different skills. Let me get this so we can actually see me. Getting different skills, getting different movement patterns, get different ways of moving, different things you get from different sports. Like in football is different than baseball, is different than basketball, is different than wrestling. So you're getting these different skills, and your body's getting used to different movements and patterns and things that you'll get from different sports, which you don't get if you just play one sport all year round. Like baseball is my main thing, and that's taken over. People play baseball all year round. I can't imagine playing one sport all year round. Even the pros, they don't. Yes, baseball is a long season. I don't know how they do that. 160 games, 62 games, and the baseball season is just way damn too long. It gets so boring. Like my interest in MLB has faded over the last few years just because the season's so long, and honestly it gets kind of boring to watch. With knowing that half the games are meaningless, and the season's just so long and strenuous. Once it gets to the fall and you start playoffs, then you start pick up and get more interest. But again, it can get so long. Even NBA, that's a long season. NFL, 17 weeks plus playoffs. I'm into that all the time just because there's one game a week. The other sports are playing so much during the week as well. But again, youth athletes, I believe, should be playing multiple sports. Even if they only play one sport, don't do that sport year round. Take time away to let your body recover, or not necessarily take time away from the actual games. Take time and train, whether that's even just doing a throwing program, a strength training program, those types of things. And then off season, and have an off season, I think, can be an important. But if you are a multiple sport athlete, you probably don't have a ton of off season where you just focus on training and getting better in movement and qualities. And that can be a problem. And when in season starts, they aren't ready because most parents don't do anything in the off season. But then, or if they do something in the off season, they get a good training program. Like my summer girls with the volleyball training the off season, I know they're going to be training through school and stuff as well, so they're going to have in-season training. But once that in-season starts, then I think kids, parents alike, even coaches think that they don't need to train. They don't need to eat and they don't need to sleep. And all this stuff gets neglected because sports are starting, because school is starting back up. So you kind of get that routine is off. That summer routine is thrown off of, I can sleep in a little bit here and there. I'm not on a strict schedule of I have to be at school at this time. I have practice. I have homework. I have other events. And that kind of starts to pick up again in the fall with school starting, with fall sports, the fall sports season starting, and that in season where you're back in season. Maybe you had the summer off again, or it could be really any transition to in-season sports, whether it's winter, summer, spring, where they're coming off an off season of training, of focusing on nutrition, of focusing on sleep. But then it comes to in season, and parents get it all confused. They think their kids need to stop training. They think they need to stop exercising and just focus on their games and their practices. And yes, that is by far the most important thing when it comes to, if your goal is to be a great athlete, is the games, is getting better at practices. But let's face it, most of those practices are garbage. Most of the coaches have no idea what they're doing. They're just running kids into the ground and having extra long practices just to say they worked harder, be the hardest worker. That's not the goal of sports, is to be the hardest worker. The goal of sports is to win. As simple as that. And the best way to do that is have the most talented team, the best team. And having good practices, good training is going to help you in the game. But this video, I want to talk about things the parents, coaches should be doing to help their youth athletes. And youth athletes can listen to this too and think of these things that they should be doing, because a lot of this stuff gets neglected. Once that season starts, in season up, practices start to pick up. Fall camp, summer camp for football or volleyball or whatever sport you got coming up is starting to pick up, and then we just throw everything else to the wayside. So the first thing when it comes to, and honestly, these things should be done year-round anyway, but we're focusing mainly on the in-season and things that can help that your athletes should be doing in season once those practices pick up, once the games start. And let's start first with training. Don't stop training. That is I think is a big no-no. Yes, you're getting a lot of training volume in and practices and games. And again, as I've said before, those are the most important thing. The most important thing is the games. Practice can help you get better at the games, but a lot of practices are garbage. A lot of practices are crap where you're just out there for 3 hours, 2 days, whatever it is. You're just out there just to be the hardest worker in the room, that old school mentality, that toughen up. And yeah, who cares if you're tough if you suck at football or you suck at volleyball? Oh, whoop-de-doo, your team can be the tiredest and hardest working, but then they go out and get whooped by a team that's just better. It's not doing much, honestly. A lot of times it's because you stop training. And again, you should keep training. I think you should train year-round. Yeah, you can take breaks and days off and stuff like that. I'm not saying that. But training is something because it helps you develop the skills that you aren't doing in sport. And that's when it comes to in-season, you should keep training hard. Because if you're training, you're less likely. It can help reduce soft tissue injuries and a lot of injuries in general. It's not going to prevent any injuries by no means, especially if you're playing sports. Sports are dangerous. Training is dangerous. But it's going to help. It can help. It's going to help you perform better. And you're not going to lose all those gains that you made during the off-season. In-season training isn't beating down with the kids with tons and tons of conditioning and just running them into the ground. That's not the way to go. But instead, your in-season training should be hard. You should train hard. Because training is going to help you stay healthy. It's going to help you gain strength and maintain strength throughout the year, power and speed. It's going to help you be fresh and ready for the game, and it's going to help maintain that body weight, that lean mass that you want. You don't want to add a bunch of fat. And that comes in lifting and training and sprinting. That can help build that muscle and keep that muscle. But a lot of things with the in-season training where you just stop training, you just cut off all that volume. You don't need to have, one of the big things with in-season training is you got to adjust the volume. You got to manage the volume, the training load. Maybe that's cutting down the number of days. Maybe that's probably cutting down the number of reps, the number of sets. Probably not going to do as many sets. You're not going to do as many reps. But the intent should be there. You're still going to go heavy. Maybe it's instead of like in the offseason, maybe you're doing sets of 5 or something like that. So you cut it down to sets of 2 or 3. Something as simple as that can be effective. You're still training heavy, still training with that intent, that engagement that's getting you prepared, and you're getting that stimulus to the body, to the muscle, to the mind that's helping you maintain that strength. Because you don't need to do a lot to maintain the strength once you put it on. If you put it on now, so you can even gain strength. But again, lower volume total, the sets, the reps. If it's sprinting, you're not going to be doing as much probably because you're going to be getting a lot of that with practice and games. And you got to adjust this. And you don't have to have a set and schedule training. Adapt, especially with like, I know football is pretty much set where you're playing the one game on Friday nights if you're high school or Saturdays if you're in college or whatever. Volleyball, I'm not sure like the schedule, but if it's an outdoor sport, maybe it's affected by rain or snow or weather, and then it gets rescheduled. So you don't need to have something set in stone. Have a plan, have a kind of a template for your training, but adjust that as you see fit. Regulate that as you see fit, whether you're the individual or the coach or the parent, and you can adjust. That's why it's good to have a coach that you're working with. Hopefully, I don't know, a lot of schools don't, but most schools hopefully have some sort of speed and strength program. A lot of those are bad too. So it all depends on where you're at. But having someone to work with can adjust and monitor that based on how the kid is feeling, what they have going on, whether they had a night game. So if you have a late night, Friday night game, don't bring them in on Saturday mornings to train. Give them time to rest and recover. We'll talk about that more in our other points of things that they should be doing. But adjust the training. It doesn't need to be maybe it's only twice a week that they're doing some side of training outside of practice and games or whatever it is. Every person is different. The role they're playing on the team, maybe if they're the starter, they play two ways, or they're a bench player, a role player, they're not playing as much. That person can probably train a little bit more. So you got to adjust and juggle these based on each situation. And the big thing is cutting back on the volume, but the intensity is going to be up there at the lifts. You're still going to go heavy. You're still going to want to move fast, those types of things. But you're not doing endless amounts of sets and reps, and you probably don't need that anyway. Because the in-season training shouldn't be taking away from the sport. It should be helping the sport. It should be helping, again, work on building those qualities that you need in sport. The speed, the strength, the power, mobility, the movement quality. It's not just bigger, faster, stronger. It's the other things too. Can you move? Are you a robot or are you a human? Those types of things. So crawling, tumbling, rolling, have all that stuff in there, hanging, just focusing on good quality movement. Because honestly, like I said, the training needs to help because the game is the most important part. The game is the hardest thing they'll do. Training and practice should leave them feeling fresh and ready to go. You don't need to beat them down in season, because if your team is fatigued going into the game, knowing that they're going to get fatigued during the game, then you're not doing your job right. You want them to be feeling fresh, feeling ready to go throughout that game and leading up to that game. So again, training. So you should be lifting, depending on the sport, sprinting. Do things that you're not doing in your sport. So football, you're not doing a lot of jumping, so you could have some jumps and plyos, things like that. Crawling, tumbling, hanging. You're not doing that stuff in football. Volleyball, maybe you pull back a little bit because on the jumping, because you're doing a lot of jumping in game. So maybe you're doing a lot more, some more sprinting, because you don't sprint a ton in volleyball. It's a smaller space, it's side to side, more lateral, kind of more acceleration, 1, 2, 3 steps, that type of thing. So maybe you're doing a little bit of speed training as part of your training, but strength training, lifting weights. But again, managing the volume, focusing on what the kids need, the timing, play it out when night games, morning practices, that type of stuff. Figure it out what works best, but don't stop training. That's the main thing is plan it out so maybe you're practicing and training on the same day. Your higher days are paired together. That could happen. Lower days are paired together. Then, again, not doing balls to the wall all the time and giving the kids time to rest, because that's important too, in-season rest. And going into the next point of quality food. And this, again, is another thing they should be doing year-round. But once they get into practice, they get busy. They got into school. They're eating crappy school lunches. They're they're at practice all day. They got school 8 hours and practice 3 hours, and then they got to get home and homework, and food gets neglected. You're in a rush, hurrying through things, and then all that food gets neglected, and they eat junk like typical kids normally do, which is not what they should do anyway, because that's just usually typically a representation of the parents of what the crap you're eating. So if you're eating good food, you provide them good quality, nutrient dense, real foods, and you're eating that, you're being that example, that's going to help them want to eat that. And in educating them about how good real food can help them, how eating a lot of protein is going to help them build muscle and recover, how eating carbs and fats is going to fuel and energize them, have their body feeling prepared and ready to go and perform on the field. Make sure they're eating enough so their bodies are getting all the nutrients they need, the vitamins, the minerals, the protein, the carbs, the fats. So they're not under eating and feeling weak and tired all the time. Because the main goal, again, is that game. Is to perform well and win those games. And to do that, you need to eat. You need to refuel, have energy to do that. And eating food is going to help that. And quality food is going to help more than eating junky candy and Pop-Tarts and pizza rolls and Hot Pockets and all this junk that kids eat because you allow them to eat that. I'm not saying they're not going to eat it, but if you can do a good job educating it, and maybe they don't listen to you, maybe they'll listen to me. Who knows? Kids are going to be kids, but a lot of times it's you as a parent, as a coach, setting an example for them and showing them the importance and how this stuff can help them improve. And nutrition is a huge way to do it. So a lot of times they undereat. They're not eating enough, especially when they're eating the junk food. They go to McDonald's, fast food, even Chipotle. Chipotle is not that great for you. But again, making sure they're getting enough calories so they have the energy and they can use that energy, that fuel, that food to perform better in games. I think you'd be amazed at how much better you feel once they start eating real food and focusing in and getting that energy, and they're not craving all the junk that quote unquote kids eat. But it's not just kids; it's you, the parents, it's you, the coaches, the adults in their lives that eat that crap too. I know because I did it for years as well. But again, nutrition in season is important. Make sure they're eating enough and prioritizing food. Again, figure out what works for the schedule. Get multiple meals during the day. Again, there's no set in stone. You have to eat breakfast, you have to eat lunch, you have to eat dinner. Eat what works. Find what works for their schedule, what works for you. Prepare, plan ahead. Meal prep can be a good thing, so you have things that quick and grab and go. Don't have them eat school lunch. Have them bring lunch from home if you can. Those are just some simple things you can do. And it's about making it a priority. Again, if you prioritize it as a parent, if you set that example and be that example, it's a lot more likely it's going to pass down, and you surround them with the info and showing them how to eat and what to eat. The foods from earth, foods from animals. Again, it can be tough because there's so much crap out there. All the marketing gimmicks, all the foods that are quote unquote health foods, or they're made with extra protein or extra fiber or low fat or keto or whatever. They're just junk too. They're just disguised as marketing. And then you got the fast food around. You got all the restaurants and big food companies and government that promotes eating junk, and it's all surrounding you. But it's up to you to weed out the junk and help them and fix and give them the best opportunity, the best options to fuel their bodies through good quality nutrition and make sure they're eating enough of that food. And along with food, make sure they're sleeping. Prioritize sleep. That is a huge. Again, everything's starting in the school. Practices go late. Games go late. Got to get up early for practices. And coaches, you can do a better job too. You probably don't need to be practicing as much as you do. You don't need to have them out late, in early, neglecting sleep. They'll probably be better off if they get some more sleep. But knowing that coaches aren't going to listen to that because they're old school and the first one in, last one out mentality, that's a dumb mentality. They're just going to waste time, waste energy, and not get their sleep. But knowing this, as a parent, you can focus on helping them, again, showing them how important sleep is, because that's when we recover. That's when we repair and rebuild muscle and refuel and re-energize so they can have the output in the games, in the practices, so they're ready to go. But as they get busier, again, school, practices, games, homework, girls, boys, friends, parties, all the stuff that they're going to be doing can be tough to manage around. And if you can prioritize and show them and be an example of how important sleep really is and how it can help them, if they truly want to be better, they'll start doing it. And again, most kids aren't going to do this stuff. Most kids are going to do their own thing and stay up late and play video games. And how do I know this? Because I did the same thing. Because that's what we do as kids. We enjoy that stuff. It's not about forcing them to be the best. Again, the best kids are going to probably outperform anyway, no matter what, just because they're freak athletes. They're just better, more talented. But again, you can help show them. You can help be an example and provide them the info and help them with decisions and stuff. Because yes, we're all young and dumb. Most of us are old and dumb and suck at making good decisions as we get older too. But giving them the best opportunity to make these good decisions and help build these habits that they start them younger and they start doing them and develop them younger, they won't have the problems that I had, that most people have. They get out of weight, get fat and lazy as they get older. If you start them young, the habits stick with them longer and it becomes routine. It becomes part of their tradition, part of their habits. And once they see the importance of sleep and what it can do, I think that's going to help. Again, knowing that they're going to do the stuff that all kids do, that's just part of growing up. And then them making those mistakes, that can be a part of it too. And realizing that, oh, I didn't sleep very well last night and my performance in the game sucked. Then they put two and two together and they think, hey, maybe that helps. And sometimes it takes that to see it. Rarely do you have the kid who's got it all together and knows all this stuff, but that's what I'm trying to help people do, help you as a parent do, help you as a coach do, is help kids build better and be better and do their best. That's all you can really do, is do your best. And know if you put in the effort and do your best, that's something to look forward to and be proud of. But again, keep training in season, eat a lot in season, a lot of real food in season, high nutrient dense foods from animals, foods from earth, and prioritize sleep and rest and recovery. Those are three things that kids need to do in season. I think it's going to help. Again, knowing that, is it always going to happen? No. You don't have to be perfect. It's about building habits. Start small. Work your way up. Help them as their parent, as their coach, and help them build. And you should be that example for them. Don't be preaching one thing and then doing another. That's not the way to go. You're telling them to eat well, but you're eating a whole pizza by yourself while they're eating chicken and rice and vegetables. Be that example. Show them that example and help them see how these things can help, rather than just telling them, oh, eat this, train, sleep. No. Show them the benefits. Training is going to help them in game if they're doing it right. Nutrition and eating good is going to help them perform better on the field or court if they're doing it right. Sleeping is also going to help. So if they can finally see that there's benefits to this, and that is a big key. But again, make it fun, make it part of their life. Don't be like overbearing and forcing and all that stuff, because again, they're going to do what they want a lot of times. But it's being that example, setting that example for them, and showing them what they can do to help, if they help improve their performance on and off the field, and just be healthier individuals and develop those habits young, and they're more likely to stick with them. So again, that's what I have for you guys. today. If you have any more questions on in-season training and stuff like that and how to do it or how to prioritize sleep again and nutrition, again, all stuff is individualized, especially nutrition and sleep, even training. It's focused on each individual. Play around with nothing's ever going to be perfect, but find what works best for each individual. There's no set, strict, this meal plan works for football players. This meal plan works for volleyball players. Eat this for a cross-country runner. Eat this for soccer player. Eat this for baseball. This for basketball. No, that doesn't work. It's for each individual. There's general guidelines. Train, eat whole nutrient-dense real foods, proteins, carbs, fats. Get your vitamins, minerals, micronutrients, and then sleep. But again, everything should be individualized for each person based on their situation, their time of the year, what they got going on in outside of sports, outside of school, outside of work, that type of stuff. Because as humans, we tend to take on more and more and more stuff and just keep adding rather than sometimes it's to sit back, take away things that we aren't necessarily needing or cut back and stuff like that. And that's where managing the training volume, managing your nutrition, and managing your prioritizing sleep can play a big role, especially in season as these athletes are getting more beat up and banged up and fatigued as the season wears on, because knowing that their practices probably aren't run very well. They're getting banged up in games, especially if they're playing contact sports and doing dangerous things, because sports, again, are dangerous. So doing these things that keep them healthy, keeping the goal in mind that the main goal of their sports, especially if they're high school, college age, is winning games and performing on the field. And that's their main goal. Younger sports, yes, they just want to get good and build. You want to get good at your sport, better at your skills, and that type of thing too. But the main goal is to win. No one wants to go into a game and lose. It's going to happen. No one wants to go into a tie. Tie shouldn't even exist in sports, if you ask me. There should be a winner and a loser. That's the thing. It's good to learn how to lose, and a lot of times that losing fuels you to get better. And doing these things in season can help you get better. So that's what I have for you today, guys. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like, subscribe if you want. Share this with anyone who might find interested in it and find it useful. Other than that, drop any questions in the comments, and we will talk to you again soon. Thanks, guys.